Greetings, kindred. I hope you're all doing well and a happy full moon to you all. So here's the chart wheel for the full moon, and the full moon will actually take place in the sign of Sagittarius. So the full moon will reach its peak on the 3rd of July 2023 at 12:38 in the GMT time zone, at 7:58 in the EDT time zone, and at 21:38 in the AEDT time zone. So as the full moon reaches its peak, it will be at 14 degrees in Sagittarius. Now, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter's in Aries at the moment at 10 degrees. Our Sun is in Gemini at 10 degrees. So, yeah, it's a very magnetic energy, this full moon, because this is a double fire with Jupiter in Aries, which is Aries is a fire sign, and with the moon in Sagittarius, it kind of feels like a double fire. So it's a very magnetic energy going on this full moon. So, with the moon in Sagittarius, it gives us this sense of optimism, and there's definitely an expansion there. Now, the moon at 14 degrees, 14 is a very material, physical number, but it's all to do with nature and growth, especially growth around organisms, but it also is a number of beauty when it comes to art, music, and, especially with the voice, like singing. So this full moon is very good for really expressing ourselves verbally in a harmonic way. So whether you actually sing or chant or anything along those lines, I think this full moon will bring that out in us. Do you know what I mean? Where we're going to want to stretch our voices, but also, you know, fire, the element of fire is very active, and Aries is also a very active sign, as well as Sagittarius, whereas Sagittarius is more the wanderer, or considered the wanderer. Aries is all about action. It's all about the physical. So, I'm feeling like this, with the sun at 10 degrees and with Jupiter at 10 degrees, I'm feeling this like expansion around evolution. 1 and 0 is definitely the binary code, the masculine and feminine. It's computer, computer language. And 10 also, the 10th house of Ophiuchus is all about ascension. So I feel, with the sun in Gemini as well, there's a lot of mind expansion going on at the moment, maybe new ideas coming from the Sagittarian moon. The unconscious mind is throwing out a lot of fresh ideas. And, some of those ideas, they can be a little bit lofty, a little bit unrealistic. But, there's a lot to gain here, this full moon, if we do kind of slow down, take things more slowly, be consistent, and also be willing to work for others. And I'll explain why I'm saying that as we go along. So, like I said, 14 is all about the material, physical, but it's also ruled by, well, it's influenced by the sign of Taurus. And, where is Taurus here? We've got the goddess Vesta in Taurus, funny enough, at 10 degrees as well. So this is all about our spiritual passion, that fire within. But Taurus is all about, our finances, our inner child, our environmental conditionings. Do you know what I mean? How we find security and in a material, physical way. So I feel there's a lot of business involved in this, since in the true lifetime sky, Sagittarius is actually the true ruler of the 11th house, and the 11th house would be recognized as the 10th house in, like, you know, like Western astrology, or even other 13 star sign astrology that doesn't use the true lifetime sky house system. So, 11th house to me in the true lifetime sky is still all about the career, but it's ruled by Sagittarius. It's still about, it's more the salesman, whereas the 12th house is more about, the board directors, the people behind the scene running the show. But this chart wheel is actually for the GMT time zone. So the house system will probably be different if you're in another part of the world. But, just talking about the numbers at the moment. So, we've got the sun at 10 degrees, the goddess Vesta at 10 degrees, and Jupiter at 10 degrees. So this is very relevant and very connected to the 10th house. And like, I said before, it's also about the binary code, the masculine and the feminine. So if we can bring those energies into balance, I feel we can really achieve a lot going forward from this full moon. Now, the sun in Gemini, Gemini is a very inventive sign. And I just feel like Gemini is very much about the mind. Do you know what I mean? It's very much about bringing something new to the table. Gemini is the true ruler of the 4th house in the true lifetime sky. It is still about home and family, but not necessarily about ancestry. I feel with the ancestry, and the moon actually rules the 5th house. The 5th house is a very creative house. The moon is very creative. And I just feel that the energies going on at the moment, there's a lot brewing. There's a lot brewing within many of us, artistically, creatively. And, we can be creative in so many different ways, apart from, painting or music. We can be creative in the home, maybe, or maybe wanting to change things around, rearrange things, or bring something new in, or, maybe like recycling. Like at the new moon, I saw a lot of recycling going on. So it's all about, as well, I feel, clearing clutter out of our lives, making space. And yeah, it's a very soulful energy I'm picking up on for this full moon. The only thing is we have the moon in opposition to Mercury, who's also in Gemini. So this can be a very agitating aspect. We can feel quite irritable. We're trying to move very quickly, mentally, and also physically. So if we're feeling like we're being a little bit blocked or a little bit held back, we can get a little bit impatient with that. Or if, there's conversations being had that, we're just not into. Do you know what I mean? I think we will be showing our dissatisfaction around that. Do you know what I mean? Because topics can be very kind of trivial when we want to sort of like really get serious about things. And the reason why I say we want to get serious about things is because the aspects in this chart that are involving Saturn, who's at 9 degrees in Aquarius in retrograde. So another thing with the moon in opposition to Mercury is that, it does distort our thinking at times. And again, it can bring up like an oversensitivity, or, a nervous energy. And, again, like I said, clearing out clutter would be a good thing. Refreshment. I feel this air of refreshment that's needed. We need to refresh our minds. So again, I feel like cleansing. maybe cleansing programs, but in the physical sense. So where I was recommending cleansing programs for the body at the new moon, I feel this is more now about the environment that surrounds us. So definitely within the home or the workspace. So to give ourselves like fresh air to kind of breathe in. Do you know what I mean? Deep breathing techniques will work very well this full moon. Um, yeah, and I think that will help slow us down and calm us down because the fire energy is very fast paced and especially with the Aryan energy, and Sagittarius is quite a fast mover himself as well. So I would just say we just need to slow down a bit. Do you know what I mean? And take that breath, get that fresh air, clear out clutter because clutter can create stagnation in the air. And I'm looking around me now thinking, boy, I need to clear out some clutter as well. I've been doing a little bit of a rearrangement here, but you know, when things just are all over the place and you haven't quite found a home for everything. So, yeah, I just feel it's all about clearing clutter and giving the brain some space to like refresh itself and to come up with new ideas or come up with new projects. And I feel like career and work is definitely a part of this full moon's energy. I also think, you know, thinking outside the box as well, because Sagittarius, the energy of Sagittarius can be a little bit narrow minded at times. So I definitely feel that there's balance there that's needed. Do you know what I mean? Because I just feel that sometimes the mind can get overloaded with stuff. So, yeah, definitely meditations and deep breathing techniques. So we have the moon also in trine to Jupiter. So these energies are flowing together nicely, and this is why the double element of fire is very relevant as well, because this trine, the energies definitely flow with ease. And, you know, this is all about as well leveling up. Do you know what I mean? When it comes to like ascension, I feel there's a lot of leveling up going on this full moon. And it's kind of based on spiritual as well. What are our spiritual practices or rituals that maybe we practice on a daily? Or what is it maybe with the Taurian energy that is involved with the number 14? I just feel that maybe, you know, our material is reflecting our spiritual. So we're looking at our material things around us, like our ornaments or colours around the home, you know, or images around the home, like our paintings or pictures. I just feel they are definitely reflecting our spiritual, our deep spiritual reflection. It's definitely a reflection, definitely a lot of mirror imaging going on this full moon. So, you know, again, you know, it's still all about business as well, you know, good business ability, meeting soul tribes or soulmates with that are like-minded. And again, I just feel a lot of patience is needed. And definitely, you know, our ideas have got to be based on the practical, you know, and that's professionally and domestically. So we mustn't start something if we haven't got the ability to see it through to the end. Or sometimes we may start things, but we must be patient in how they come to completion, because I feel this full moon is more about long range goals rather than quick paced ones. Do you know what I mean? So if we're starting like maybe changing the home in some way, we may not have the finances at hand to actually bring it to completion, or we may it may be something that takes time, especially if we're building something. It takes time and energy to do that. So yeah, I just feel there's a lot of patience that is needed. Um, the only thing I would say is, with the moon in sextile to Saturn, we can be very focused on what we're doing. So, sometimes we need to take time out to smell the roses. Do you know what I mean? Or sometimes we can feel that there's a lack of excitement, or a lack of sparkle, is how some astrologers would kind of see that. So in that respect, we can be prone to a little bit of like disheartenment, feeling a little bit disheartened about things. Do you know what I mean? So I just feel like, just a little bit of patience, but definitely work on bringing a sense of joy into what we're doing, not to be too serious about it, just being practical. I think sometimes we want to get things done quickly, or we have higher expectations and don't really achieve the expectations quickly. So again, like I said, whatever we're working on at the moment, we mustn't lose faith in that. We must keep the fire burning and just know that sometimes things take time. So we also have this Grand Cross, and the Grand Cross again is with Pluto. This is a little bit ongoing, this Grand Cross. So with Pluto in square to the North Node, in square to the Black Moon Lilith, in square to the South Node. So it's definitely a nodal Grand Cross here, which has been going on for a little while, except for one of the players has changed here, and it's the Black Moon Lilith. Now, the Black Moon Lilith in Cancer, that's all about our dependencies and our codependencies. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes we can be dependent. It can be not necessarily around addiction, but being insecure in standing on our own 2 feet. Do you know what I mean? So especially when it comes to the spiritual, because the Black Moon Lilith is at 7 degrees. So when it comes to our spirituality, we don't need other people's approval for that, because our connection with the divine is direct. We do not need approval of others to actually have that connection. And I also feel this full moon is all about connection to the divine, as well as connection to our soulmates or our soul tribes. So I do feel there is a lot of connection going on around this full moon as well. A lot of coming together of like-minded people. And we've been seeing that for quite a while anyway, but it's very prominent this full moon. So we've got to be willing to work with others as well. Whatever we're trying to achieve, I think we have to recognize we can't do it on our own necessarily. There's certain things we can do by ourselves, but there's certain things that we need input from others as well, that hold that more expertise in certain areas, or where we can bounce ideas off of each other. Do you know what I mean? So I just feel working in communities or in groups, or just making connections where we can help ourselves and help others, will be very productive, will create a lot of productivity around this full moon. So with this Grand Cross, with Pluto involved, it is all about reformation of our social and cultural institutions, or our religious philosophies. Do you know what I mean? And that's been going on for a while. So, there is a lot going on with society and the establishment, and, there has been a lot of people not being able to speak their truth. And that's been going on for a couple of years now. So I feel that's still at play at the moment, and that's what this Grand Cross is all about. So, like I said, a few years ago, and I've been saying it here and there, it's like this awakening that's occurring, you know, people kind of like leveling up in ascension because this full moon is definitely about ascension and mind expansion. So all this leveling up that's going on is going on in bouts. So I feel this is another bout of ascension. And again, it's always when things get revealed to us that we actually, it takes different things for different people just for us to click it all into place and get that recognition, and then we kind of level up and ascend, our mind ascends and expands. Do you know what I mean? So I feel that's going on this full moon, and things are always being revealed all the time, and we're always coming into recognition. And like I said, when it comes to, like I said before, we can put evidence in front of people's faces all day long, but they'll only see it when they're ready. And there's always a trigger somewhere. And I feel this full moon is very triggering with certain conversations that are going on. There are triggers going off. And, so if we're feeling a little bit irritable, then, we just need to go away and calm our spirit and really get to the bottom of what it is that's triggering us. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes we can just feel irritable because how the planets are affecting our individual charts. Like I've got the Black Moon Lilith flitting backwards and forwards on my Mars at the moment. So I'm feeling these surges of aggressive energy at time. But I go to the allotment I'm working on, and I just do digging and planting, and I'm up there by myself. I've got wind chimes going, and by the time I come home, I feel this sense of peace and calm because I've been in nature, I've been working with the land, and I've been using all that fiery energy, you know, putting it into something productive. And I just feel that's what we need to do. You don't have to go out into your garden or go to the land, just do it in the home, just maybe do a spring clean, even though it's summer. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I feel some of us need to just really work off this like active, very active energy. So, this grand cross with the Black Moon Lilith in opposition to Pluto, I mean, this opposition has been going on for quite a while. And here and there, because remember, the Black Moon Lilith is always flitting backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. So at the moment, she's flitting between Cancer and Leo. I think she's actually finally left Gemini now, and she's flitting backwards and forwards between Leo and Cancer. So, I mean, if you have any planets in Cancer or Leo, she will be triggering those planets in your chart. And like I said, she's triggering my North Node actually and my Mars. So I know every time I'm going through that, big changes happen for me in my career. And funny enough, yeah, because this allotment I'm working on, it's just come up recently, which was I saw as a blessing because, like last year, you all know I was trying to grow food in my back garden, but the way the sun comes into my garden, there's only a small patch that gets, full sunlight. So, I was in a little bit of quandary of how much food I could grow here. And then this allotment opportunity came up. So, we've got to hold on to our faith. And, sometimes we don't recognize when things come in that we've put out to the universe for. Because I did put it out to the universe last year saying, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And then, the following year, at the right time, an opportunity came up. So, that's where we need to develop more faith in putting things out to the universe and asking for that help. And, like everyone says, I'm not the only person that says it, we don't get unless we ask. Do you know what I mean? So, prayer, chanting, or just speaking, just talk to the divine, talk to the universe, and just put your whatever it is that's bothering you out there, and a solution will come, eventually. Not maybe straight away, like it took several months for this opportunity to come up, because there's a right time for everything. Sometimes if we're not getting what we want now, it's because it's not the right time. So it's also being in that place of acceptance and trying to maintain that is not easy for the best of us. Do you know what I mean? It's not easy, especially when we're feeling that sense of emergency, and that fire energy can actually do that. We want things very quickly, and but we have to be patient and wait things out and know that there will be a right time. So there's this big dark night of the soul energy really in our collective. Do you know what I mean? That's been ongoing for quite some time now, with this opposition with the Black Moon and Pluto. So again, I just feel that's very relevant around this full moon. So there may be people, for those of us that are already in that space of acceptance, that have already done a lot of shadow work. Do you know what I mean? People may be reaching out to us for guidance, for information, or just to be a listening ear, so just be prepared for that as well. On the other side of the Grand Cross, we've got Jupiter. Now, Jupiter's not actually immediately involved in this Grand Cross. The North Node is, but Jupiter is really in conjunction still with the North Node. So with Jupiter conjunct the North Node, which, they're in separation now. So, this is more about the consequences of that conjunction now are playing out. So with Jupiter, we can really conjunct the North Node, opposition the South Node. We can actually, accept things without question, or expansion can happen too quickly, where things actually are taken for granted and things can fall apart. So I just feel this Grand Cross is very much, with Pluto involved and the nodes, it's very much a wider scale. It's not on an individual level. Do you know what I mean? And I really do feel with Jupiter and Pluto involved, it's more about authorities or establishments or corporations, stuff like that. I feel this energy is more around that, because we are seeing things expand very quickly. We are seeing things taken for granted, or the people are being taken for granted. So sometimes that can fail because the expansion's happening far too quickly, and because it's taken for granted that, it's going to happen whether you like it or not, sort of attitude. I just feel that can really lead to failure. So, because the awakening's happening very quickly, I just feel, other things are being brought in far too quickly, way before their time. And like I said, this is more about long range goals, not quick fixes. So whatever's occurring out there, just know it's kind of destined to fail, because there's no thought put into it. There's no realistic evaluation put into it. So we've also got a kite as well. And, we've got Juno in trine to Saturn. We've got Saturn in trine to the South Node, and the South Node back in trine to Juno. So in the UK here, we've also got the midheaven involved as well. So this is very public in the UK. So this kite, we do have, it's not quite a kite with the North Node on top, actually. But again, it's Jupiter. So Jupiter's energy is very, very much relevant this full moon, like I said, with the trine to the moon, and with the moon in Sagittarius, which is Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. I just feel like the Aryan energy and the Sagittarian energy are very relevant. And like I said, it's very fiery, it's very passionate, it's very physical, material. So with the South Node, it's more about, you know, what we're comfortable with, what we hold, you know, the knowledge we already have in Virgo. With this kite, it's kind of positive though, in the sense that we can achieve a lot of success and we can attract the right people into our lives to help us to become successful as long as we're consistent. You know, so definitely again, this is with Juno in trying to Saturn, it's definitely a soulmate or a soul tribe connection that it represents here. So definitely, like I said, groups of people coming together, very favourable for professional goals, um, which will actually get approval from the right people. I do feel this this kite is giving us a sense of purpose, but we need to take our commitments seriously. Like I said, we need to be consistent because this is all about transformation, this full moon. It's all about personal growth, which comes through our connections with others. Do you know what I mean? So no one is an island. You know, there are those of us out there that are lone workers, but even we at times need to reach out to others for, you know, something that they're more professional. I mean, we can't be professional in everything, in every aspect of life. Do you know what I mean? So there's always people out there that we will connect with and network with. And I just feel there's a lot of networking going on around this full moon too. So we also have this little stellium here in Leo with Venus, Mars, and the goddess Pallas. And I feel this is a very, very productive energy if we're using it in the right way. So with Venus in conjunction to Mars, this can be very creative. Remember, Mars is the ruler of Aries. So again, there's a connection there. And it's all about being creative, either intimately or artistically. You know, it gives us an intense love of life and emotional warmth, you know. So the only thing here is we must use wisdom when it comes to our expenditures. Do you know what I mean? And like I said, sometimes we do need to take that long range view of what we want to achieve and not overspend to get things done quicker. So it's all about really being productive and being careful, not being too quick or fast paced in getting or achieving what we want. Do you know what I mean? And like I said, we're seeing that happen in society and it's not faring too well right now. You know, there's a lot of problems there if you really look into it. So with Venus in conjunction to the goddess Pallas, that gives us a strong sense of value and it gives us a lot of empathy as well and, you know, compatibility. And with Mars in conjunction to the goddess Pallas, that gives us a lot of courage. And especially if we're in leadership roles, it's where we're willing to fight for causes or fight for fairness. But, you know, the only negative to that is we can become a little bit too impatient or dominating, you know, or ruthless even. Um, but I just feel that that is what we're kind of experiencing as a collective as well. Do you know what I mean? So it's like the more we push against the status quo or authority, the more we push against it, is the more madder they get with their, you know, with their pushing or their dominance, you know. So it is like a tug of war going on in one sense. But in another, I just feel people are really becoming spiritually empowered. There's this beautiful energy coming in, which is like, helping us to level up and get really productive, but with like, knowing that there's it's going to take time, but in that time and process it can be very productive. So if we're not rushing in, we're doing the right thing, but with this Pluto in opposition to Lilith, it can really make us feel we're carrying heavy burdens. Do you know what I mean? And many of us are. It feels like that, especially if we're in a struggle right now. If we're struggling with our finances, or if we're struggling in maintaining things, because there's not enough hours in a day. Like I said, just take that time out, express through creativity. Like I said, music and art are going to be very prominent this full moon and will be very regenerating to our soul, to our inner willpower, you know? So, kindred, I'm going to leave it there. I'm wishing you all a beautiful and productive full moon. Take care. Much love.